Hello and welcome to level 61 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am here. I'm Jeremy, here with three compadres. Of course, I have David.
What up?
I have Corey.
Hello, players.
And a very special guest. I have Cody.
Hello, everybody.
Oh boy.
Bringing
that high energy.
How are
That's
we doing? No, what that is a in the arts, David, you know this. It's called the dramatic pause. That's what that
Right.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing this evening?
Doing all right.
Doing
Kinda
good,
sick.
I think. You know? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
I'm getting married tomorrow.
Getting married tomorrow.
You're getting married
Hello?
tomorrow? What are you doing here?
Recording a podcast. What do you think?
Okay.
It's his bachelor party.
That's right.
Hey, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
man, doing good. You brought a shooter last time. I'm bringing my shooter this time.
Hmm.
That's the way it's got to go down, man. Only problem
Okay.
with my shooter is he doesn't like me, so.
Well, for one, that's not hard to imagine. And number two, I mean, you never go ahead and just count someone out. We don't know what turns this tale may turn or take. We got to play it out. But
All right, yeah.
I don't know. For my very shallow, brief insight, I would say you're playing a little bit behind the eight ball here, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Alrighty. So without further ado, special guest Cody, you've come here
All right.
with the questions. You fire them off.
All right. You guys ready to go? We got some good topics here today. We'll start off with
Let's do
the
this.
first one. So my favorite game ever is Final Fantasy X. It's a great game. I played that thing so many different times. So my question to you guys, with Final Fantasy 16 coming out, and the remake of Final Fantasy VII, the more action RPG, I'm just wondering if you guys feel like there's any future for the turn-based RPGs again, or do you think they're completely done?
Solid
Good
question to start.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, are you talking strictly in the Final Fantasy sense or in all turn-based mainline gaming here?
Yeah, just all.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll take it. I'll start out with some early points here. Yeah, of course, because we already see that there is a mainline franchise that is turn-based, and that's Persona. Persona kind of rose through the ranks because of Final Fantasy going action. So when something leaves turn-based, something else filled it, and that's been getting a lot of sales because of it. So it shows you that people do want turn-based RPGs. Square Enix just isn't willing to give it to them. But other companies will step up, and if there's a need for it, people buy it. And Persona 5 specifically has 8.3 million sales, which is a really good sales count, especially for a turn-based RPG in a genre where you would think, hey, this genre is kind of dead. It's not dead.
All right, I'll give you a point for the facts.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll take it next, I guess, unless David, you're feeling itchy. I'll take it though.
Go ahead. I'll say
right.
best for last.
So yeah, I also think it has a mainline future, not just because of you want to look at the Persona franchise, but look at so many other franchises that have such good footholds in the gaming, as far as like a Divinity Original Sin 2, turn-based, right? Even something that's kind of like more lower brow, but like a critical darling with something like the Wasteland series, right? And then obviously, like, you have a lot of different games that are maybe they're RPG with a bit of like tactics inspiration, right? So like one of my favorite games, Wildermyth, kind of falls somewhere in there, but not entirely, right? Something like, for granted, say what you want about them, but they're good, well-rated games. The South Park series, right? Stick of Truth and the I forgot the other one, the second one.
Fractured Butthole.
The Fractured Butthole.
Yeah.
All those I think are kind of like they show that type of game mechanic lives well, is alive and well. I think what really impacts that type of thing having staying power is the theme. Like all these different fantasy RPG games that are turn-based or something like that, turn-based games, they all have different like really specific, really visual, obviously, set apart themes that make each of them unique and different. So I think turn-based RPGs can work well if the theme kind of like helps either pull out the RPG elements or vice versa, right? So like it improves it. Either the theme is improved by the gameplay or the gameplay is improved by the theme, right? So I don't know. Even like you can kind of expand on a little bit too. So I'm thinking about like a Dragon, Yakuza, where it kind of is a turn-based, but it incorporates a little bit of the action elements that Final Fantasy has pivoted to. So yeah, I think it's alive and well. I think turn-based RPGs are actually going to be one of that staple of like gaming mechanic genre, whatever, that continues to see a lot of interesting ideas be incorporated as years go on. I feel like that's a fertile ground to innovate on things while staying true to the core of it.
Perfect. 2 points for you. Way more detailed than Corey gave for his
Just trying to
I appreciate
give a short, thought and letting other people go on, but Jeremy doesn't respect David like that. Okay.
No respect around here. Anyways, okay, so for me, I was thinking about this for a while since you posted it, and I was thinking, turn-based RPGs, I figured that was just to have condensed sort of action on the screen for, like, especially the older games. They couldn't really do a lot. But as you brought up, like Persona and stuff, there's the new game still bringing the turn-based aspect to them. So it's not only that. And I think it's going to be kind of like RTSs. They have a place for them, and I think they're going to stay around, but I think it's just for those certain niche people that like to play these types of games. So I don't know if they're a mainline future, but they do have a future.
Perfect. 2 points for you as well. You were more detailed. And I agree.
If I can bring up one more point real quick, I think turn-based really has a place with more indie developers or smaller developers, because like David brought up a great point. The reason they made it turn-based to begin with is because they couldn't show people slaying the dragon. So they just, they did a button prompt. So I think a lot of newer developers or indie developers have a better chance of doing turn-based games because it's probably a little bit easier to develop for.
Exactly.
I have nothing to add. Those were both.
Yeah.
All right. So we're good with the first topic. Ready to move on?
Yeah, I got it. We're good.
Let's do it. Okay. So the second topic, the Switch is about 7 years old now.
Yeah.
So just plain and simple, the lifespan of a console. Do you think it's too high, or too short, or do you think just right?
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. So I personally don't, I didn't come with facts with this one, but I think the lifespan of a console is good for like 8 to 10 years. Because one, you can adapt and change it and get better hardware as the years go by. Two, you don't have to redo a new system for it. So like the PS2 reads different than PS3, different than PS4, etc. You can stay on the same system reading wise, and you don't have to have the companies work with that and new ones and whatever. And it gives people an incentive to buy the products knowing they're going to have it for a while and don't have to worry about buying a new console every 3 to 5 years, because some people can afford a $300 console once every 10 years, but if they have to buy a $300 console every 4 or 5 years, they're not really going to try and stay up to date with things, and they'll just stick with, Xbox One. Oh, I can't afford the Xbox Series S, so I'll just stay there. Same thing. So I think 8 to 10 years is a good position for a console.
Now you're a PC gamer, correct?
I am now, yes, but I grew up only playing on Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo.
How often do you update like your PC?
I bought my first one 9 years ago, and I just bought a new one this year.
Gotcha. Okay, so right in that lifespan. All right.
All right. Should I take it? Hop
Take
in
the
number
wheel.
2 again.
Yeah.
All right. Here. Now, how do I put all these thoughts into one concise statement or message? Lifespan of a console, too high or too low right now? I think it's too high. Right? You're talking 8, 9 years. Technology moves way faster than that. And the other thing that's moved besides the speed of technology is the culture around gaming, right? What we define as a casual gamer, someone that plays Fortnite probably has a $700-800 PC rig. Like on average see like kids that just play Fortnite getting Fortnite built PCs. And these are PCs with really well built specs. And these PCs are having technology in them that's being iterated on much faster than it would be on the console side of it, right? Like a kid's like, oh man, a brand new graphics card came out. I want to play it so I can push more FPSs in Fortnite. Okay, well that's another 200.
What's graphics card have to do with console generations, Jeremy? Get to a point, man. I have stuff to say.
It's the basics of that, like the components and the things that iterate or improve on PC and technology move way faster than consoles can catch up with. If you're going for an 8-9 year iteration, right? The last generation was so long because of the recession, right? So it's not that they wanted it to take that long. They had economic terms made it take that long. Otherwise, that would have still been the same, a 4 to 6 year console generation.
Did you give David any points?
I did.
I don't think we heard it.
I gave him 1 point.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering. These guys are killing it today. I think console generations are exactly fine where they're at. And I'm going to give you a personal example of why I feel that way. Now, last console generation, the PS4, Xbox One. What happened was about midway through that generation, 3-4 years, they put out, I can't remember the exact name. It was like the PS5. Someone back me up here. I know it's a competition, but they put out the advanced PS5.
Like the PS4 Pro and the
the PS4
Xbox
Pro,
Series or Xbox Elite, Series X or something like that. Or
yes,
yeah,
yes,
or One X or something. Yeah,
yes, I appreciate it. So PS4 Pro they put out, and you didn't need it because it wasn't a new console, but it felt bad not to have it. It felt like you were missing out. So I feel like David kind of said, if they do start making these console generations 4 or 5 years, you're going to get to a point where it's like, man, I feel like I have to buy this because I'm missing out, and I don't want to because there's not that big of a leap. Jeremy said technology is moving so fast, consoles don't keep up with it. But the problem is when you only make a console every couple of years, you don't actually feel like there is a leap at all. You know, the graphics are slightly better, the environments are slightly better, you can have more enemies on screen, but it's not a big deal. I want them to go on longer, or as long as they are going right now, about 7 to 8 years. So when we go from something like the PS3 to the PS4, you can kind of tell, and you can like noticeably when you buy that first game be like, wow, this looks really good. And I do like that feeling of that, and also the money aspect. You know, you're not dropping $400 or $500 every couple of years.
I would counter that. I was, as a consumer, you mentioned again like the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Those are, and I will term this to keep it PG, half bootied attempts at hardware and component iteration. I'd rather, instead of you shortchange with something that has incremental advancements with a PS4 Pro, go ahead and commit to the next gen with a PS5 then. Because the technology to build the things they're building these consoles with, these chipsets and these graphic chipsets, they aren't like cutting edge. It's older technology, right? Granted, it may be a few years older, 2 or 3 years older, but remember when they start developing these next gen consoles, they start developing them 18 to 24 months before they release them. So it's already older tech. Just give me it a little bit sooner rather than giving me a $450 PS4 Pro and then a $500 PS5. Like, just give me the PS5.
Well, I think the reason people buy consoles is because they know they made an investment for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they won't have to buy it. When someone goes and buys a PS5 off the shelf, hey, I have the guarantee that this is going to be relevant for 5 to 10 years at least. And that's a good thing to have. If they didn't want that they would become PC gamers. And there's a lot of PC gamers, but there's also millions and millions of console gamers. And I think that's one of the big reasons why.
Right. I would argue that's more of a platform issue, right? I think the platforms evolving from the PS3 to PS4 to PS5 is much more of an issue, right? Some reasons some of the games you can't play from the PS4 to the PS5 is more of sort of a platform or software issue rather than it be just wholly that the hardware had a real shakeup in how that went out.
So in like reality, you're not even talking like just get rid of PS4 and PS5, just call it the PlayStation console.
I'm saying you get rid of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X because those are ridiculous statements. PS4 Pro of what? Just get rid of it and just give me a PlayStation 5.
Pro of old tech.
Right.
But yeah, like I've mentioned on a very older level that the consoles, they just keep releasing them all over and over, and they should really just have down to like 1 or 2. I understand what you're saying about, PS4 Pro. You might as well just bring out the PS5. But the PS4 Pro is also going to keep that system going longer for that, 6 to 10 year lifespan. And that just helps with having that system be relevant until they are ready for the next one. Because, like I said, mentioned earlier, I'm not going to buy a console every 3 or 4 years. Especially at the prices that they are.
Another point for David.
That's a good point, David. And I think another argument to be had for a little bit longer lifespans, games are taking longer to make. So, David, you buy a PS4, and in 3 years, they release the PS5. And guess what? The Last of Us 2 never came out on the PS4. You thought it might because, that makes sense. But a new console was released so fast, well, now it's a PS5 game. And you have to buy this new console. At least with these longer lifespans, we get to see almost everything a console maker. Nintendo puts out at least one of each of their franchises on a console. So you get to experience all they have to offer within a lifespan. Same thing with PlayStation most times. I won't say same thing with Xbox, but you get the deal.
I was just counter that. That is a point that they're just taking longer for the development. There may be a possibility that shortening lifespans actually pushes developments to be faster. Because how many companies can actually afford to skip a release of a major title in the generation of a game, right? So like, can Naughty Dog afford to not put out The Last of Us on the PS4 if it's a 4 or 5 year generation or whatever game? Are they going to say, well, we can't? We did PS3, we can't do PS4. We're going to wait till PS5, right? Even though it may be the same time span for consumers, that's going to feel like, oh, it's been a whole generation since they put this game out. It can maybe drive it.
I mean, what you're arguing, though, is kind of like developers. Okay, Jeremy gets points for that point. All right, fine, whatever. What you're arguing is that developers kind of pick and choose how long development's going to take, which I think is not true. And from game crunching, which we've seen, it's been a hot topic the last couple of years. They try to go as fast as possible.
I was about to mention that.
There's no way that The Last of Us, that Naughty Dog is like, oh, we're going to miss this generation. We better crunch even more. No one does that. They release them as quick as they can anyways, because that's how they make their money. So that's a bad point.
With a boutique developer like Naughty Dog that can actually kind of like choose what it puts out because it has a following, I think that's a little bit different. I think stockholders and developers kind of work hand in hand with these release dates of different things. But I mean, yeah, it is a possibility that can happen, but I think it's more so that companies are looking at it strategically saying, hey, well, we want to make sure we nail this generation or we don't skip a generation. So we won't make our game 30 hours. If maybe it cuts some of the fat in some of these games, especially with, like you said before, action RPGs, the Ubisoft syndrome, these 30, 40, 50, 70, 80, $100 games that are a bunch of fluff. Maybe we cut it if we need to make sure we hit a generation, because a publisher like Ubisoft, they're not going to miss a gen without an Assassin's Creed on there. So maybe we don't get 80-hour Assassin's Creeds anymore. Maybe we get more focused, concise releases.
Yeah, you get 2 20-hour Assassin's Creeds that are pretty.
There you go.
That are like each other.
You're getting them anyway, but you're getting them anyway.
Okay, I know we're mentioning all these AAA titles and games and companies, but so let's go to the indie developers. Like, we see that they are pushed on PC a lot more than consoles. And if the lifespan of the consoles are longer, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 were just released, what was it, 2 years ago?
It's been like 3 years almost, right?
Almost 3 years at this
So
point.
they know that still has some time in its life. So if they develop it and put it on a console, they're safe to do so, knowing it has time. But if
Good point.
it's every 3 or 4 years, like they don't have, it's hard enough just to put it on the PC, let alone trying to decide if they want to release it for Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo. So I think that's another helpful thing is for the indie people is longer lifespans makes it a better option to put it on consoles.
I would argue that's more of a platform issue than a hardware issue.
Hey, Jeremy, you don't have to say I would argue. You can just argue it.
I'd argue that it's more of a platform issue
personally.
compared to a hardware issue.
All right, fellas. Great discussion, but it's time to move on to the next topic. All right, so the third topic, with the releases of Dead Space, RE4, Prince of Persia coming up, my question to you, remakes and remasters, are they a good thing or too many coming out too quickly?
I'll take this one first.
Yeah.
All right.
It's too many too quickly, buddy. I mean, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with movies. There was a poll that came out not too long ago that says that the millennial generation plays video games more than any other generation. That includes Generation Z or Gen Z. I'm sorry. So, I mean, who are you releasing these remakes and remasters for? You're releasing them mostly for this slice of the demographic. I mean, you may say, hey, we can release these new games and introduce these great worlds to new gamers and new people, and you're going to do that, but it's much less of a cash cow than you would think it is, right? People want new ideas, they want new experiences, at least as much as they can. There's already going to be a limit to innovation as far as game mechanics to some extent, right? But creating new stories and new protagonists is how you get people in there. And I think that it shows if you look at the sales for a remake of something like, I mean, Dead Space is kind of a niche game, so I don't want to say compare the sales of, Dead Space to the sales of, Elden Ring or something like that, or the sales of a Ghost of Tsushima or something like that, right? Like, people want new IPs. Obviously, they want some remakes and remasters sprinkled in there, but it's way too many. You've got remasters and remakes coming out all the time. It's becoming even more irrelevant with backward compatibility on these newer consoles. So I don't need to buy a remake or remaster. I can go back and play the previous game. But you're going to give me a 4K graphic pack? Great. I'm not going to pay you $60, $70 for a 4K graphic pack. Okay. That's not happening. So yeah, way too many.
Good points.
I mean, you said we want to fund new games here. You know what helps fund new games? Selling their old games again. And people
new consoles.
No, I'm saying when a developer needs to make a new IP, they might be able to release an old IP to generate cash. You know what? People want them. Sometimes you can't play the older games on newer consoles. How easy was it to play the original Dead Space? How well does that hold up? Well, they made a remake of it where it feels like the older game, but the graphics are up to par. The combat's probably up to par. And people get that like nostalgia that they want. We're all fighting for nostalgia. That's why people buy things from their childhood. Like maybe we buy Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something like that. People want to play the stuff that they know and love from the past. It's not a bad deal. Like RE4, is RE4 remake stopping Capcom from releasing, RE9 eventually? No, it's a stop hold to have fans get something they like until they release their next game. We would be waiting 5 years anyways between RE8 and RE9. Put RE4 out there. People are happy. It's a good game. Metroid Prime Remastered just came out on the Switch. That was hard to play. You could not really play that on the Switch at all. You had to play it on what, the Wii? That was the last console that you could play it on? Like, that's a fantastic game, and it shouldn't be held to the GameCube or the Wii console. Put these games forward. Remaster them a little bit. Make them 4K. It's all right. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. I think they're a good thing, but they are kind of abundant right now. Like Corey was saying, some of the older ones are just hard to play. Like, I can't go back and play my favorite Resident Evil game because the controls are just absurd now. I'm not used to it. There's just god awful. But if they made a remake or remaster, it'd be much better. The controls would be updated, and of course, it would look better. And I would drop $60 on a new game for that. They're worth it. They bring back the nostalgia, like you said, what the millennials are looking for, and new people do go get into them. Like RE4, it topped Hogwarts Legacy on Steam, so that was a brand new idea, new game, new everything, and this remaster blew that out of the water. So too many, too quickly, but it's a good thing.
I'm going to fly a little close to the sun with my arrogance here. I'm going to rebut both of you.
I like it.
So for one here, Corey, you had mentioned something, again, an example like Dead Space. Well, Dead Space has technically been available to play since it came out. It came out in the 360 generation. You could play it backwards compatibility on Xbox One, and then you can play it on Xbox Series, right?
Don't give him a point for that. Don't give him a point for that. I mentioned you can play it. I know you can play it. I'm just saying the graphics and the gameplay might make it kind of unbearable to play, is what my point was. Jeremy's just making things to get points here. He's point hustling.
Do you think it is such a dynamic, complete overhaul of a game that came out 360 era 2010 versus 2023 to a point where it's completely and totally unbearable? I mean, if we're talking PlayStation 1 games, PlayStation 2 games, Dreamcast games, then maybe I give you that. But when we're getting into the well-defined 3D, I think it's a little bit more palatable in that regard, right? So I don't think something like that would actually fall in line with it, right? So another thing, remakes, remasters, it depends on if they're bringing anything new to the table, right? So a lot of these are just doing straight one-for-one remakes, or straight just one-for-one remakes. They're not bringing anything new or saying anything new with these new games they're bringing out, right? And the remasters, again, remasters are cool if they're priced accordingly, but remasters have been priced like bonkers. You're charging me brand new full release game. I mean, freaking, I know this for a fact. I bought a remaster of Kings of Amalur, right? I could have just played the original one. They both look like trash. And that's the theme for most of these remasters, right? That's the theme. I mean, Corey, you played the remaster of the Mass Effect trilogy, didn't you? Was that was that so dynamically different than playing the original games that are still already available?
No, but it's nice to have them on current consoles, on current controllers, on current. It's nicer to have just at your fingertips. That's why, you don't have to really get remasters when you have a PC, because those games continue on. But this is the way to do it on the console. I know you're a PC gamer, Jeremy. You don't really get it, but games don't travel well between generations a lot of times. And that's and that's like Sony or Microsoft's fault. But the developers are just putting out there what people want. If people didn't want these things, they wouldn't make them because they wouldn't sell. I'm assuming the Mass Effect trilogy sold very well because people were hammering for it. They wanted it. And who are you to deny what people want?
How long did you play the Mass Effect trilogy for?
I played it for a few hours. Like I play a lot of games. What's it to you?
How much did you spend?
I spent $60 for 3 huge RPGs
that you've got 3 hours of joy for, when you could have just played the original releases that are already available, backwards compatibility from Xbox Game Pass. I mean, I don't know.
Good.
They don't look as good. I understand they don't look. I don't understand they don't look as good. Do they look another $60 good enough?
I mean, it's my money. I can spend it on what I want.
Okay, here we go.
That's a bad argument. Minus 1 point for it.
Minus a part of that points to minus. You've been handing them out like the old woman on Trick or Treat, dude. An apple or something.
Money? That's your argument? It's my money? I
can spend it on what you want. You can spend it on what you want, and people have shown they want to buy these remakes and remasters.
David, anything else to add to this?
Yes. Okay. So the original RE4 was released in 2005. Okay. So that's still within 20 years. It's 18 years. They just released the remaster, remake actually, and it looks significantly, definitely worth the $60 difference in the graphics. And the controls are updated, because I'm on a Resident Evil fan page, and there's been quite a few people complaining about the original controls and I have not seen that once for the new one. And
for fan page.
it's just, it doesn't have to be because of one thing or another, but reintroducing them and updating them, even if it is just the graphics, seems like it is worth it to the consumers. Now, I know what you're mostly complaining about, Jeremy, like the remasters of the Mario games. They were basically literally just ports of the Superstar pack or whatever had Mario 64 and whatever. Those are just ports. Let's be real. But like the real remakes and remasters, we've seen the sales are good. Consumers are asking for it. They're paying for it. They're a good thing, but I just think there's too many.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for agreeing with me.
Here's the deal. The problem with too many is it's not like any one single company is putting out all the remasters and remakes. Like,
yes,
you can't stop certain companies from putting out remasters and remakes and not, and let others do it. It's something that the gaming industry is going through because they sell very well and people want them. So, like, yes, maybe there's too many, but what can you do? Like, everyone should be allowed to throw out their classics.
I agree.
That's because old, like you guys, are pining for your member berries instead of embracing new ideas and new IPs, okay? All these remakes and remasters. I mean, Capcom with RE. I mean, make a different game already. Jesus Christ. Remaking RE3, RE3, RE4. While they're just having, exactly. They're 3 years away from making a remake of RE7 that came out like 3 years ago. I mean, give it a break.
We're the only one on these podcasts that actually buys games, Jeremy. You wait for the $5 bin.
That is a fallacy.
I mean, too many. Didn't they already remake RE4? This is the second time now?
They remastered it.
They've been porting it up the wazoo.
Yeah, it's the same thing to me.
Yeah. Well, the port is different because that's just taking the same exact game and just coding it for a different console. This is redoing it from the ground up with the old set in mind.
All right, Corey, how much different is that game?
The game is pretty different.
New and special besides graphics.
I mean, like David said, the gameplay is pretty much changed. The original RE4 used to be a stop and pop type game where you had to stop to shoot. This one is much more fluid in the movement, which I think is in line with today's, shooting and action games. Where RE4, while I do think the original RE4 holds up pretty well, a lot of people might be turned off by the way it plays. So RE4 wants to bring Capcom. How many points?
2 points.
Wow, I didn't have to say much. All right, I'll stop there.
All right. Anyone else in, or are we moving on?
That's it. I'm done.
I'm out.
I'm spent.
All right.
Got a lot of making up to do here, guys.
Yes, you do. The next topic. For those of you who don't know, Corey is my brother, so we lived together for a very long time. We used to play games all the time together. So my question is, for multiplayer split screen, should it come back? And do you want it to come back?
I guess I can go first. I haven't gone first in a while. Obviously, Cody has a bias. I know that bias. I could exploit that bias and get 3 points all day long. But I guess my better
-1.
I'm the
show.
Point. Are you kidding me? No.
Fair.
Split screen should be extinct. There's no reason to have it in this day and age. A lot of families have multiple consoles. A lot of families have, online subscriptions that they can play with other people. You don't need to play split screen. The thing that split screen does is it asks the developers to run that same game twice, which is a huge load on the developers to try to get that thing to run good. And if it doesn't run good, if it doesn't run super crisp, fans are going to be mad and they're going to demand that you fix the split screen. It's not worth the hassle. A lot of people do not play it. I don't know what he said there, but a lot of people just don't play it. Is that a point for me, a point minus?
I gave you 2 points.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dave, you want to take it number 2?
Sure. It's a hard one. So like Corey brings up, it does put a lot on developers to make sure the game runs smoothly twice, or maybe up to 4 times. But how often is it really used? I do remember on one of the Black Ops for Call of Duties, I can't remember which one, but they didn't have it in there like the other ones. And I was upset because my friend would come over and we would play together quite often, but we couldn't do it on that one. And no one played the previous ones because we know how COD works. The new one comes out and the other one's history. So it was unfortunate. But how often are people going through this nowadays? Like Corey also said, people have multiple consoles and we have online, and I don't see it really being too much of an issue. So unfortunately, I kind of have to agree. Maybe that's something we can put in the past.
Here's my question for you two. Weren't you both complaining that consoles cost too much? I mean, what happens if you have a family of 4 and you got to buy 4 consoles and have 4 online?
By the way, Cody, gotta say, doing a good job. That's a very good. That's a very good follow-up.
I thought about that before my answer.
I said some families have it, and that's fine. But the families that can't afford 4 consoles, that's fine too. You can just take turns. Taking turns is a thing. All right, split screen was such a small part of gaming history. There wasn't split screen in the NES days, in the Super Nintendo days. It happened during a very specific time in gaming, and then it stopped. It's okay for things like that to stop.
I have just one more point for David and Corey. Both of you have kids. Wouldn't you like to play split screen with your kid?
Man,
it would be nice because I know about that, but he doesn't know about that. He doesn't know what split screen even is. All right, well, you get a point for me for that one. But
one kids. 1 point.
But
let Jeremy talk code? What are you doing here?
Yeah, he talks. Also, my phone's getting kind of close to dying, so.
Oh, that's right. Well,
gotcha.
On the Xbox One, we just take turns. Like we played a lot of Crash Bandicoot and stuff like that. Taking turns isn't that bad.
Okay, I'll hop in. I'll hop in here real quick. Of course, split screen should be making a comeback. This is ridiculous. Consoles are so expensive. Everyone has multiple consoles in their home. Multiples of the same console? What are you even talking about, guy? You want me to go out? Most games nowadays are trash. You want me to go out and buy at least 1 copy or 2 copies of your trash game so I can play online multiplayer with you? That's ridiculous. The poor developers, they got to make the game run 2 times. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's a business, right? Not only does split screen allow you to have a better experience because you're getting to have an experience with someone in person, interpersonal relationships, that whole thing that we've somehow lost and put no degree of importance on. You get to have that. You get to maybe have someone get exposed to the game in a different way that may not have been thinking about it, right? David, you've talked about how you went to a friend's house and saw them playing The Last of Us, and that's what drove you to buy it, right? Well, maybe for some people, it takes more than seeing. Maybe they got to push a couple buttons and it gets them invested, right? As far as maybe the gameplay mechanic hooks them more than the story. That allows them to get into it without having to make that initial investment, right? And then, this is something that we've expected. I remember a couple or 2 or 3 levels ago, Corey, you had made the argument in regards to the multiplayer topic that gaming started as multiplayer. When you go back to the genesis of it and arcades, having the 2 different people stand in an arcade and play each other, multiplayer, local multiplayer, I think is ingrained in the culture of gaming to some standpoint, right? I'm not going to go out there and if I want to play Halo with a friend, right, which was a staple all throughout the early 2000s of playing it with family or friends, have them go out there, hey, I want you to go out here and pay money for this trash Halo Infinite so we can go ahead and all have it doesn't make any sense, right? Keep it localized. You can have a great experience, right? The whole idea of LAN parties exist for a reason. It's not exactly split screen, but you're having you're all in one room having that same shared gaming experience. Split screen provides that. It should definitely make a comeback.
2 points.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, 2 points. No one's saying because split screen's gone that multiplayer games don't happen. You still have beat 'em ups. You still have games where the action takes place on a single screen where you can still have many, many memories of playing multiplayer. All right? That's not going away. That'll always be there. Split screen's just, and here's my other point, which might minus me a point, but the idea of split screen, when you're playing Halo 1, who's the other guy? It's another Master Chief. It makes no sense story-wise. It never does. They never explain it. It's always some dumb, he's a carbon copy. And you know what? I'll admit this right here. Me and Cody and Eric and Chris, we cheesed Halo with split screen because we had someone run out, get killed, but they took out a guy, and then they respawn because the other guy was staying safe. It's a hindrance.
I mean, if you're choosing to play a game inefficiently, that's on you. I would also counter that for something like a Halo where, hey, it's just another Master Chief, that doesn't make any sense. Do you remember the sensation of character select in 007 GoldenEye when someone would pick Oddjob or someone else would pick James Bond? That was pretty cool, right? So you also have those experiences as well. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, that was.
I didn't play trash games.
You think you didn't?
Okay. Also, with split screening and stuff, how many times did you guys just look at the other person's screen to see where they were?
That was part of
Cheaters.
the fun.
Part of the fun, cheating.
Part of
That is,
I like most of the time I try to play an honest game. If I'm getting stomped though, I'm gonna start peeking a little bit.
Okay.
But with the culture of video gaming nowadays, most people just have their own. And people going over to people's houses, they are either bringing their stuff or they're not even doing that, or they're taking turns. Split screening was a really big culture part of gaming. It's kind of faded out.
Here's the thing: is in today's society, no one wants to take turns. Everyone wants to play right, here and now.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Code 1 point. Idiot.
Minus 1 point.
What an idiot.
So violent.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, what's the mysterious question?
Mystery question.
I always come up
The mystery. All right, this is just a fun mystery question, but I want you guys to bash each other. Selection and just go all out, and hopefully my phone doesn't die. So here's my question: if you could choose one bodyguard to protect you, character-wise, who would you choose?
From any story.
Any story. You pick your character.
Good question. What do I want to go with here?
Bodyguard.
What are we being protected from?
Yes. Good question,
Like,
David.
Say you go to the club. A couple of
Just
guys
the
are messing
club?
with you. Yeah, just the club.
So just like regular real life scenarios, but with any
Yeah,
character
just,
from a story.
You
Okay.
want protecting you
All right.
if you're in trouble.
Easily Deadpool.
All right.
He understands who's good, who's bad, and he has no problem taking care of people how they should be taken care of. If they're just a bully on the streets, he'll mess them up a little bit, give them a taste of their own medicine, call it a day. But if they're just evil Knievel type, horrible people, he has no problem making that day their last.
All right.
I mean,
That's
are
the
we
kind of
really
protection
okay? Are we really okay with picking someone who originated in a comic?
I'll allow it.
Well, he told us to bash their answer. I mean, Deadpool would be considered a video game character like 10th on his little Wikipedia.
Yeah, but he
Just
has
say
his
it.
own game.
That's fine. I'm just saying he wouldn't really be considered a video game character. But go on.
I think he went. What's your character?
I mean, he's a video game character, but I'm just saying it's not what he's known for. You know
Well,
what?
I'll think of another one too.
No, you're good. You're good.
I know, but I'll think of another.
I would pick Lara Croft. All right.
Okay.
She's able. She's willing. She's always shown resilience in her games. I think she has a really cool accent. I like her British accent. She's rich. There's other parts of her that are great. She would just be a great person to hang out with.
You.
I mean, have you seen her games? Have you played her games? She murders hundreds of people. She's never had difficulties, handling business anywhere she goes. And she's a normal person, and she's a video game character, and she's a woman. Okay? Black guy, woman.
I'll give you 1 point for the woman.
1 point?
You say it so desperately.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a little bit. So I'm gonna go more real life practical here, and I'm gonna keep a video game character. I'm going Ezio Auditore Firenze from Assassin's Creed 2. Okay, for one, guy's a charmer. He's a good time. He's gonna be a good hang. If we're going out to something like a club or we're going to a party, this guy's gonna mingle. He's gonna be able to have a good time. He's gonna bring good energy. But also, homie, know how to stab people real quick. So if anything breaks out, I know for a fact that Ezio can throw a little gas grenade if he got to, but he's got the sliced finger, won't stab right to the neck. We get out, we can vanish and disappear. Also, if I need him to do some reconnaissance, no one can see him because he's stealthy. He's an assassin. You understand what I'm saying? I go with Ezio. Ezio's my guy.
All right, so you can give him his points, Code, if you want, if he deserves any, I guess.
I'm playing already.
Okay, well, Ezio is a decent choice, but Lara is just a modern day Ezio. She does the stealth thing. She also knows how to handle a gun, which Ezio does not know how to do. So a gun is mightier than the dagger. So if I'm being protected and Jeremy's being protected, no way am I getting touched. While Ezio's probably missing, protecting Jeremy. 2 points. Okay. Holy crap.
Okay, well, here I'll rebut to that one, saying that Laura's just like Ezio. Lara, just like Ezio. She's no, she's not, because Ezio's an effing assassin. That's the name of the game. You're gonna tell me that Lara Croft, who by the way, in the games gets discovered all the time. She's not. There's some things. There's maybe some segments where she's a little bit stealthy, but she gets discovered all the time. And also, she's in peril all the time. And also, she dies all the time. And you want to know why I know this? Because they made death animations for her. No, she's the only one that has death animations, which means the developers were like, we know she's going to kick the bucket. Let's make it kind of funny, right? That was the whole thinking behind that. You're going to have that. You're going to have someone that requires that. You're saying that, she knows how to shoot guns. Her primary weapon is a hatchet or a bow. You bring a bow and arrow into a condensed location area. You bring it into a club. You bring a bow and arrow into a club. I'll bring a knife. We'll see who gets out better alive in that scenario. Okay.
Are you familiar with the dual Berettas? Is that not one of the most iconic weapon sets?
The dual Beretta.
Dual Beretta.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, because you're going to utilize the entire pantheon of the Lara Croft games rather than just have a character as a bit more. Oh, so you're kind of like leaning on it and lying a little bit. I get on what you're saying. I mean, if you gotta, you gotta make up points. Understand? Rely on a weak thing.
Let's just put it.
But in the newer Lara Crofts, they got rid of her. They got rid of the Berettas. I mean,
let's just put it out there. Lara's hot.
What?
Negative 1 point.
She's hot. She would be awesome.
When I think Lara Croft, I thought the Berettas. I didn't know they took them away from her.
They did take them away.
Does.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Jeremy, apparently.
That's because I've played all of them, not just the old ones.
I've played all of them.
See, I only played the old ones.
I've only played the new ones.
But bring it back.
She does not have the Berettas, but in the pantheon, she does.
Bring it back to a more serious answer for me, just in case. I decided to go with Joel.
Is that switching his answer?
Well, I'm not switching it. I'm giving it a more video game character.
More video game
choice.
Answer.
That's a big no-no in this.
That guy is not fun. He is not.
He's
fun
not
sauce.
fun. He's not there for fun. If he's to protect me, he could mingle if he has to. He does fine with it. He's traded with people, but he also knows close combat and fighting with guns. It's a win-win. Just in case Deadpool wasn't good enough for.
Maybe try a third character.
I think Joel's better than Deadpool. I feel like Deadpool has like a squirrel brain. Like he'd be there to protect you, and then something would distract him, and he would go away. So, yeah,
it's half the fun. That's it. That's all.
All right. Cody has come into the office, and he has informed me that his phone has died.
I figured so. He's frozen on the screen.
He is frozen. The podcast had lasted too long. I don't know. Will this work?
What is it? What is it with you two? Charge your phones.
But it was charged the whole time. My phone
Hey.
just sucks.
Hey, you know it happens.
Almost.
You know what? For calling me out, -1 point.
Oh,
That's fine.
wow.
For David.
But
Wow.
it's really funny because almost like every other podcast, Corey's like, my phone's gonna die, guys.
It's iPhones,
See if
man.
we could
it's
speed it up.
older iPhones. If you don't buy a new iPhone,
They do that on
literally kill your
purpose.
battery. I know.
You got to get
That's
the Pro Max.
shady business right there.
Because they got the really big batteries in them.
You know,
Yeah, well.
you know what? I don't have that problem with Samsung. I'm just saying.
Well, you would have a problem if you brought Deadpool to the club. We all know that.
It'd be a fun problem.
It's very catty. Well,
All right. Well,
I guess that lends to the well, that's the mystery question then.
yeah.
So I guess.
5 questions.
All righty. So
All right, everyone ready for the results?
we're ready.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start with the obvious last place. It's Corey.
This is total blasphemy.
He minus quite a few points. I don't know how many exactly, but still at 10 points.
That's my brother.
There you go. There you go.
Not bad.
I'm his witness tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
Second
don't-
place,
see
Just
crap.
sign a different
I see
name.
crap.
second place was David
Oh,
I saw it coming.
God.
with 13 points.
Ooh,
And
not
then
bad.
obviously winner is Jeremy with a grand total of 18 points.
18.
Ah,
He brought up great points all day.
I had great points. I will say, I would even say for me, this is probably my best performance.
I agree.
You know what we call Jeremy? We call him a bootlicker. That's all he's been these last couple episodes. He's learned how to play the game.
He didn't even
this
have
guy-
to do that last episode.
I
He had his cousin give him 3 points.
don't think that's.
guy's
This is
a
a question of
bootlicker.
integrity. This is a question of integrity, and this is a program of integrity. Josh, integrity. Cody, immense integrity. Okay, these are all integrity judges. Well, that brings us. I guess that brings us to the end of the episode, which means that we have final thoughts. Final thoughts is when we make a thought or idea we want to have, either related or unrelated to this podcast episode. So, I guess since I went, I'll give my final thought first.
Sure.
I didn't really think about it before I said it. So my final thought is, I think I'm gonna play Jedi Survivor Fallen Survivor, whatever that new one is coming out soon here.
The,
You're gonna buy it?
like 15
I'm gonna. It's.
Star Wars game.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's not on. It doesn't come out Game Pass, does it?
No, that's $70 too.
Okay. Well, I revised that statement. I will not be playing that game. I will find something else to
Not
play.
anytime soon, anyway.
Not anytime soon. I will be playing Redfall when it comes out. I pre-downloaded it already. So there you go. That's my final thought. Who would like to give their final thought next? Should our special guest go, or who wants to go?
Second place will go.
Okay.
So I played
So-
Vampire Survivors. Corey, did you play TFT?
I did. Well, listen. We're not on our main We're not on our main episode yet, so it's a little bit unfair to ask me to talk about what we're playing right now.
All of
But
them
I
are main
will tell
episodes.
you, I did. Yes, that's true. I did download it and I have logged in. So I
Okay.
have actually not done the gameplay, but I have it downloaded on my phone. I am ready to start playing it.
Well, I've put about 15 hours into Vampire Survivors already.
You like
Yeah.
it?
In a week. Yeah.
Oh my god! I cannot wait. To
I've
talk
beaten-
More about Vampire
I've beaten the
Survivors.
first 4 levels, and
Yeah?
I have like 11 people unlocked, and
Nice.
I have all the
Nice.
original power-ups unlocked, and it's really fun.
It's
so thank you.
fantastic.
Mm.
Yeah, no
That's my
problem.
final
Man.
thought.
I'm happy. Oh, man, I wish I could talk about what I'm playing, but I'm just so salty right now. I thought guest judging would be a great thing. I thought it would bring in new perspectives.
All true.
What it really shows me is our judges don't actually know video games.
That's
And that's unfortunate.
a
So we have
wild
someone-
accusation.
We have a man that's just pandering to the lowest demographic and just saying the most basic, in touch reality things. When I'm trying to, I'll say this for another day. Just guest judging was a bad idea. Josh, I love you, Big Beard. You are amazing. Cody getting married tomorrow. He's great, but some things just weren't meant to be.
I'm
Like
very
you winning.
I find it interesting that part of your remark was that, oh, he's in touch in reality. That was somehow a slam towards me. It's very interesting.
The most
backwards
mass
compliment.
market, the most mass market argument.
Yeah.
The most mass market. It's pathetic. I thought
Well, you
you
know
were
what?
better, but
You know what is better? The soon groom to be. So
Oh,
special
wow.
special guest Cody, is there anything you would like to offer with your final thought?
That was just all my final thought. Just give a shout out to my fiance, soon to be wife, Jacqueline. I love you,
Oh,
and can't wait to marry you.
wow.
So
Queen.
beautiful.
You heard it here. Well, I mean, you'll hear it. You'll probably, by the time the wedding's tomorrow, this comes out after. So you'll hear that there first before you hear it here. You'll hear it here second. But you heard it. So there you go. that brings us to the end of level 61 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast service. We are on all of them, I believe. We are also on the socials. You can follow us on Facebook. We are on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Thoughts and Players, like it's all one word. We are also on Instagram, and we are on Twitter, and we are on TikTok, and we are on YouTube, and we've got a Patreon. If you're digging your boys and you want to support, check out the Patreon. We have a $2, $5, and $7 tier. All come with different perks. But if you can't do that, a like, a share, a comment, a follow, it's all the support. We appreciate it. So that is it for me. Fellas, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Peace.
Bye.
See ya. We will catch you on the next level.